Ted Jarris and Dan Siddick were very different persons. They were both of Eastern European descent, but Ted Jarris was a very rigid person. He served as a missionary in Australia and was in the branch office there, and I have received many letters from people in Australia who knew him personally, and they all say what a hard man he was. And that was true on the governing body. He had that attitude. Go ahead. I remember one case where Ted Jarris said, well, suppose this ruling does cause some hardship for a few people. He said, we can't be concerned about that. We have to think of this big organization that we have. So that the individual didn't seem to matter. It was the organization that counted. Whereas Dan Siddick would often express a more liberal, a more moderate attitude, and he would often vote on the side that was in the minority. His daily work was over at the factory where they did the printing, and he was on the factory committee. And a close friend of mine named Tom Cabine worked in the factory, and he was the overseer of all the high-speed presses that the society had. And he said that Dan Siddick, when he talked with him privately, would express his concern about things and how he saw so many things that were wrong. And he said, what we need to do is get down and study the Bible again and get back to the Bible. But he was very concerned about his position. And though he would talk that way privately, when he was before the governing body, he was very careful because he did not want to lose his position.
Are those two eldest members of the governing body the most prominent or the youngest?
Ted Jarris is the most prominent of the present governing body members, and he seems to be the main one exercising control today. Jack Barr is a very mild-mannered person. He doesn't express himself very strongly on things. In fact, when he was being considered for nomination as a member of the governing body wrote to the branch committee in England and asked about him, and they said, well, he's a good brother, but he doesn't contribute much. He hardly ever says anything in the meetings that we have. So he was brought over, and he was the same way in the governing body. He hardly ever expressed anything, made any comments.